Good day, good day, good day to all who's tuned in to this video. It's King B News and Views, and speaking of views, look at the views. You know, this park have nice views, you know, nature. But let's get into this video. So, the news, the trending topic today is, and for the past few days, have been Shannon Sharpe and what's going on with him. And lawyers have released more audio of Shannon Sharpe really incriminating himself, you know. And in the audio, he's telling the young lady about, he made a comment about big black man chokes little white woman, you know. Shannon obviously didn't realize that he was being recorded. I must admit, I haven't really been paying attention to that story. You know, I heard little tidbits here and there. But from the little information that I've was able to hear, to me it really sounds like they was involved in some rough sex, if you will, and really it just sounds like a setup, you know. But no matter if you're involved in that type of playing around, you got to be smart. And you know, he got himself caught out there, and that's all I really have to say on that matter. You know, he got himself caught out there. But you know, if you wanna know more about that, there's plenty of people talking about that story. You can check out the brother Ticket TV on his channel. He's been talking about it and doing lives on it, you know. But that's really all I have to say about that. That's the trending topic. But as far as myself, I'm really more concerned about story out of New York. 22-year-old young man, young brother, Messiah Nantwi, 22 years old, New York Corrections. And he was unalived by correction officers, right? By correction officers. And there's a witness who spoke out anonymously, who described how he was handcuffed and pleading for his life, you know. And this is the second unalived inmate to be unalived within a 3-month time period in New York, right? The first one being a 43-year-old brother named Robert Brooks, and he was at the Marcy Correctional Facility, and that one is on video, and he was unalived. Had him down on the table, about 10 officers, and it's really hard to watch. It's really hard to watch, you know. But this is what my mind is on. You know, I know the trending topics, Shannon Sharpe and other celebrity news, whatever's going on that everybody's talking about, that you know, a lot of people. But this is what I'm talking about. This is what's on my mind, because these type of stories, you hear about them, and then they quickly go away, right? Quickly go away. Now the 22-year-old young brother who was unalived, Messiah Nantwi, That's going to be a case. We got to wait and see what happens with that. You know, and Robert Brooks, I believe that one that court case is ongoing. You know, and I just want to say to the families, may they get justice for the loss of their loved ones. You know, and then you got out in Mississippi, 10-year-old young brother Jordan Hill out riding his ATV, and he was unalived, hit by a pickup truck driven by a neighbor, right? Cody Rollinson, I believe his name is, and he just kept on going, didn't even bother to stop. And not only that, he was only charged with leaving the scene of an accident and possession of marijuana, and was released on $41,000 bond. That's it. That's all. I mean, they charged him like there was no injury or nothing at all. Meanwhile, a 10-year-old young brother lost his life, and all he was doing was just riding his ATV. You know? And once again, may the family get justice for the loss of their loved ones. And I must say, when it comes to my people and my brothers and sisters out there, we are one of the most peaceful people in the world and society. And yeah, I know about the crime and what goes on in our communities. You know, gang activity. Our youth is lost out there. You know. But I often wonder, when is the sleeping giant going to awake and take action? This is what's on my mind, and this is what I think about. How often are we going to turn the blind eye and turn the other cheek, go out and march peacefully, and meanwhile our brothers and sisters and our youth are being attacked, targets on their backs? You know, every time one of us walk out the door and leave our homes, no matter where we're going, our young going to school, or we just going to the store, or even out to the mailbox, it seems we gotta say a prayer before we walk out the door, because you just never know. And this is how it's been, right? When are we going to take action? You know, you can only do but so much marching. You can only protest but so much. But it seems protesting and marching haven't gotten us nowhere. Maybe, just maybe, we may need to start taking action. Just maybe. You know, something to think about. Because all the marching and the protesting really haven't gotten us nowhere, and is not going to get us nowhere. No crime bill, no reparations, you know, like so many others of my brothers and sisters, content creators, have been talking about for a long time now. Hadn't gotten us nowhere. And meanwhile, we watch other people, other communities, other ethnic groups come over here and just, they get crime bills, and they get, look at all the money that the United States government pay out every year. I mean, people have been talking about all the money that was given to, paid out to Ukraine, right? But if you do the research and look at it, the United States gives millions upon millions, even billions of dollars every year to certain countries. Look it up. Every year. But when it comes to us, oh, well, we got to pull ourselves up, pull our bootstraps up and, get to work. But others get all type of grants, free money, to come over and start their businesses right away, no wait, right? And thrive, okay? And we've been sitting and watching this go on. And once again, protesting, holding protests and marching, and where have it gotten us? And where is it going to lead us? This is what I think about. What's going to happen when it comes to us in our future. But on the flip side, we got earthquakes going on a biblical scale. We got fires going on. We got flooding going on. And wherever when you look at what's happening, part of the world is burning. What's not burning on fire is flooding. Volcanoes are active, right? Turkey just got hit with a 6.2 earthquake. Okay? Swarm earthquakes been hitting California for a long time now. That San Andreas fault has been active and rumbling, and it's not a matter of if a big earthquake over a 7, 8.0 or higher is going to hit. It's a matter of when it's going to hit. And the experts know about this, right? Reports and plenty of video of people recording and reporting on hearing these loud booms in the atmosphere, in the sky, and they don't know what it is or what's causing it, right? Do your research on that. There's plenty of video, and this is documented. I said it before, I say it again. Justice is here, and justice will be served, But it's frustrating to constantly see these stories about how my brothers and sisters out there are being targeted. And it's not being talked about enough. You only got but a few of us who talk about this. You hear about it, and then you hear no more about nothing else about it. So shout out to those who keep putting these stories out and talking about these stories. And again, condolences and to the family of 22-year-old Messiah Nantwi and 43-year-old Robert Brooks and 10-year-old Jordan Hill. May they get the justice that they're looking for, right? And may they heal as a family, and we as a community need to heal. Because you're talking generations upon generations of trauma. The trauma is generational. Okay? And as a community, we need to heal. I mentioned earlier about the crime in our communities, and what's going on in our communities that we see, because I mention it because I know there are those out there that will be quick to point that out, right? But when you do the research, we've been set up, when you do the research, And that's just the truth. You know, when you look at the programming, when you send your children off to these schools, they're not learning anything. They don't go to school to learn. They go to school to be programmed. Right? The Board of Education was funded and started by John D. Rockefeller, was one of the major contributors. And he was quoted as saying, he don't need a nation of thinkers, he need a nation of workers. Right? And what do you see today? You know, what do you see today? Right? When you compare our educational system to other educational systems in other countries, we're way behind. Way behind. And as an example, you got time, pull up videos on China and what they're teaching their youth in their schools and see what you find. See what they're teaching their youth, what their youth is learning in their school system. There's a big difference. They're learning science and, you know, even learning military tactics, you know, how to break a gun down, put that gun back together, and they're running drills, military drills, at a very, very young age. They're getting their youth prepared, right? Because the youth is the future, right? So if you properly train and prepare the youth, you'll be better suited as a community, as a nation, to be strong, to thrive, to lead. But what is our youth learning or have been learning? Again, our youth are not learning anything in these schools. We're being programmed. That's it. Compare the school system to jails. You know, you're talking school to prison pipeline. You know? So when you got these youths who get labeled, you got a lot of youth labeled special needs, and they're not really special needs. They just got, some of them, not all, right? They get labeled, they get these labels put on them, and all they really need is just, they got all this energy, that just need to be redirected. Again, some, not all. Okay? And to get these youths who get into trouble, they get a slap on the wrist, and nothing happens to them. Right? And so they grow up thinking that they can do whatever they want to do without any consequences. But what does that do? What happens? When they reach a certain age and they become teenagers and they reach the age of 16, 17, depending on what they do, the severity, they're going to jail. They're going to jail. Again, it's a setup, because the parents have no rights, The parents have no rights when it comes to correcting your child or children. Now, I'm not talking about abuse. That's something different. Okay? But it's a shame what's going on, what's happening, and what's been happening in our communities. And something needs to be done about it. Something needs to be done about it. You know what I'm saying? But this is what's on my mind. And sooner or later, we got to start having these conversations as a community. And we're going to have to figure it out and come up with some plans. And then start to take action. Because this cannot stand. This can't go on any longer. And yes, once again, justice is here and justice will be served, right? But we're going to have to do our part as well. We got to stop just sitting on the sidelines and you know, protesting. We're going to have to do our part sooner or later. Sooner or later. But that's all I got for you in this, for all of y'all in this video, whoever tuning in. You know, I'm King B, and once again, condolences to the family of Messiah Nantwi, Robert Brooks, and Jordan Hill. Condolences to all the family out there who have lost a loved one unjustly. You know, may you find justice and the peace that you're looking for, right? May you have the support that you need and get the support that you need, okay? Love yourself unconditionally. Keep your loved ones close. Watch each other's backs, you know, especially in our communities. We got to start watching each other's backs and being a community once again. You know, to my brothers and sisters out there, you're not my enemy. You know, you're not my enemy. We are not each other's enemy, right? Unless your energy is wrong, you know? Because once again, there is a flip side to that. We got to start looking at what's the energy or spirit guiding that vessel that we call a physical body, you know? Because you also have to have a spiritual eye, right? But those of us who are on the same accord, those of us who are vibrating on the same frequency, energy-wise, we got to watch each other's backs and come together and support each other and love each other unconditionally. Men, we got to be men and protect our women, our babies, our children, first and foremost, right? It's our responsibility to protect and take a stand, right? And protect our women, our children, our babies, and also be the hands of justice when justice needs to be served, okay? So make sure you have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. There's a lot going on in society and in the world today. Now is not the time to be abandoning each other. Now is the time we were supposed to be coming together as a family and as a community, right? And shame on those who are looking to separate and break, and still looking to break the families up or break families up. Because now is not the time for that. Now is the time to come together and have real conversations and settle our differences. You know, if you love each other unconditionally. But for those of you who are selfish, shame on you. You will have your day. But I'm King B, News and Views. Thank you for tuning in. To the next video. Peace.